I need you to hear this before I tell you anything else. Knowing your rights is not the same as being protected by them. I know that now. I wish someone had told me before the night I stood on a pavement in Leeds and asked a question I was legally entitled to ask and got handcuffed for my trouble. I am 23 years old. I work in logistics. I was walking home from a late shift on the 14th of March at approximately 11:20 at night. I was wearing a work jacket with the company logo on the back, the same jacket I wear every shift, identifiable as a work garment from a reasonable distance. I had my phone in my hand because I was listening to a podcast about football. I was on a well-lit residential street I have walked down several hundred times. A police officer stopped me. He said he was conducting a stop and search under Section 60 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994. Section 60 is what I have since learned to call a blanket authorization. It allows officers in a designated area to search anyone without needing individual grounds, provided a senior officer has authorized the use of Section 60 powers in that location for that period. It is a broad power, and it has a specific application process. The officer did not explain any of this. He said Section 60 and began asking me to empty my pockets. I asked him whether there was a valid Section 60 authorization in force for this area. I had read about this, not recently, months earlier after a conversation with a friend who had been stopped twice in 6 months and who had told me to look it up. I had looked it up. I knew that a Section 60 authorization has to be granted by a superintendent or higher, has to specify a geographical area and a time period, and that an officer conducting a search under Section 60 is required to tell the person being searched that a Section 60 is in force and provide the authorization number if asked. I knew this, I asked. The officer told me to stop wasting his time. I said I was not trying to waste his time, I was asking a lawful question. He said I was obstructing a search. I said I had not been told the authorization number and I did not believe a valid authorization was in force. He said I was under arrest. Let me stop. 2 minutes in. I want to tell you something about the custody suite, because the custody suite is where you understand things you could not have understood before. It is cold in a specific institutional way, the kind of cold that is not about temperature exactly, more about surfaces, about the particular combination of linoleum and strip lighting, and the smell of bleach, and something older underneath it. I sat in a cell for 2 hours. I am 23 years old with no criminal record. I work in logistics. I wore a company jacket home from work. I sat in a cell for 2 hours because I asked an officer to confirm the legal basis for his search. My mother came to the custody suite. She is a community support worker. She has spent 20 years helping other people navigate institutional processes, and she had never navigated this one from the inside. I could see what it cost her, and I am telling you that because it is part of the cost of this story and I want you to understand the full ledger. I was charged with obstruction of a police officer in the execution of his duty. Released on bail. Court date set for 6 weeks later. I called a solicitor named Dev the following morning. Dev asked me one question before anything else. He asked whether there had been a body camera on the officer. I said yes. He said good. Then he asked me to describe exactly what the officer had said when he stopped me, in the order he said it, as precisely as I could remember. I told him. Dev wrote it down very carefully and underlined the part where the officer had said Section 60, and then immediately told me to empty my pockets without providing the authorization number. The officer's statement, submitted as part of the prosecution case, said he had identified me as matching the description of a male seen acting suspiciously in the area earlier that evening, and had stopped me on those grounds. That is not Section 60. That is Section 1 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. A different power entirely, requiring individual reasonable grounds for suspicion. A power that comes with different obligations and different limitations. The officer had cited one legal power on the street and a different one in his statement. Dev requested the body camera footage in February as part of the disclosure process. The footage arrived 3 weeks before the hearing. It showed the officer saying Section 60 clearly, before any interaction between us had escalated, before I had said anything at all. And it showed that when I asked for the authorization number, he had not provided one, because, as Dev later established from the force's own records, there was no valid Section 60 authorization in force in that area on that night. No authorization. He had cited a power that did not legally exist in that location on that night, and had arrested me when I questioned it. I want to give the officer something here. Not because I feel generous, but because this story requires honesty. He was working a late shift. He had probably stopped a dozen people that night. He was operating in an environment where stop and search is used as a tool for managing risk in a way that has been criticised extensively and defended with equal vigour, and he had made a decision about me based on criteria he believed were sufficient. The problem is not that he was a malicious person. The problem is that the criteria he was using were not in fact sufficient under the law he cited, and when that was challenged, his response was to escalate rather than to explain. The prosecution declined to settle in February. Dev made an approach and was rebuffed. The hearing proceeded in March. Dev put the body camera footage and the force's own authorization records to the prosecution's barrister. The barrister withdrew the case before lunch. Settled out of court. All charges dropped. The officer was not disciplined. Dev tells me the internal complaints process is ongoing, but that I should not expect it to move quickly. I have filed a formal complaint. It is logged. Whether it goes anywhere is not something I can control. What I can control is this. I am telling you this story because I want you to know that asking a question you are legally entitled to ask is not obstruction, and if you are ever stopped and asked to empty your pockets, you are allowed to ask, what power are you searching me under? You are allowed to ask, is there an authorization number? You are allowed to ask, can you tell me the grounds for reasonable suspicion? These are lawful questions. They may not protect you in the moment, they may make things worse in the moment, but they create a record, and the record is what Dev used to get my case thrown out. I still wear the work jacket. Same route home, same street, same lighting, same hour. Different person now. Older by some years that have nothing to do with the calendar. What would you have done if you had known asking that question would end with handcuffs? Would you still have asked it? I think I would. I hope you would too. But I understand completely if you would not.